I'm Charlie Fardon and you're watching the Newsroom. In local news, the University of Exeter is working to increase the amount of its waste that is recycled. The university has partnered with Exeter City Council, who will pick up recycling and general waste. It is hoped that recycling material will find high-quality end users to maximise environmental benefits. Parliament has officially disbanded and a general election is due to take place on the 12th of December. For those who are a bit confused by Brexit and UK politics, worry not. On today's episode, representatives are here to explain each party's policies and why you might want to vote for them.
Hi, I'm Bryan Knight, reporting for the political segment of the Newsroom, and today we're joined by Lily and Jeeves. Okay, so let's begin with Brexit, because I'm sure there are a lot of students who will be confused about what's going on and what the different parties' policies are towards Brexit. So can you talk us through that?
So the Conservative Party want to get Brexit done by the 31st of January. Boris Johnson never tires of saying that his deal is oven ready, gas Mark IV and all that. They're also, one of the key policies they've got at the moment that the Brexit party's had a bit of an influence on is the fact that they're not going to have an extension to the transition period, which is due to end on the 31st of December 2020. So that gives the government a year to negotiate the next bit of Brexit. So originally, the first bit of Brexit was going to take 6 months, and then the kind of negotiating the future relationship was going to take 18 months. So they're giving themselves a year. Now, when we've gone, when it's taken us 3 years to do what we were supposed to do in 6 months, I don't really think we're going to get that done in a year, the next bit, but we'll wait and see. People keep saying that Boris Johnson is a miracle worker, so let's see what happens. And the kind of future relationship we're looking at with the Conservative Party is a kind of Canada-style future relationship. So that means no single market access, no access to the customs union, and not being accountable to the European Court of Justice. So it's quite a kind of separate relationship. With Labour, it's quite different. So they want to negotiate a new deal, staying inside the customs union if possible, with strong alignment to the single market, which is the kind of so-called Norway model. And this deal they would take to a referendum. So they'd put this new deal up against Remain. Now, it's been quite controversial because Jeremy Corbyn has said he's going to remain neutral in that referendum and let the people decide, as it were. And it would also be legally binding, whereas in 2016 it wasn't, which has caused all of this kind of confusion in the last 3 years. And he said he'd pledged to make sure this gets done within 6 months. But this obviously would require another extension, so extension number 4. The Liberal Democrats, it's quite simple. They just want to stop the whole thing. They want to make it stop. They want to stop Brexit. So if they had a majority government, which is unlikely, but if they did, they don't want to simply just revoke Article 50. Without majority, it's very obviously it's understandable why they want to do that if they did get a majority, because they'd be the government of the day, but it's not the most sensible thing, and it's been again quite controversial even among Remain voters, because they think it should be undone democratically if we are going to remain in the EU. But if they don't get a majority government, the position would be they'd continue to campaign for a people's vote, which is something that they co-founded. And that would probably be up against the version of Leave of whoever ends up as Prime Minister, so Jeremy Corbyn's deal or Boris Johnson's, depending on what happens. But if there's a hung parliament again, that could be quite influential. The Green Party is similar to the Lib Dems and Labour, so they just want to, they also want to kind of stop Brexit, but they've pledged to have a referendum against a kind of single market style membership of Brexit. This is again quite controversial because a lot of people say, well, what's the point of us doing this if we're going to stay in the single market and the customs union, because that would kind of immigration, that kind of thing would carry on as normal. And a number of key policies such as the common agricultural policy and the common fisheries policy, which were quite significant issues in 2016, would continue. So it does kind of beg the question, is there any point of us leaving at all if we're going to stay in the single market and the customs union? And the Brexit Party quite simply want to have just a clean break Brexit. Now, it's quite unclear what that actually means, but some of the policies that they've put forward are, not giving the EU a 48 billion divorce bill, which is essentially money that we pledged to the EU at the start of the EU budget about 5 years ago that we do owe them, and they just wouldn't, they would withhold that and not give it to them. And they'd want to quickly, they want to leave immediately and take back control, as it were, and quickly negotiate new trade deals around the world. But it'd be quite shell-shattering for the economy, and just losing all of that trade so quickly and losing all those links in such a short period of time, and it'd probably be quite catastrophic in the short term, potentially okay in the long term.
Now, in regards to the NHS, Lily, what have the different parties said?
Okay, so starting again with the government Conservative, and also more generally, all of them have spoken about mental health. Obviously, that's quite a big issue at the moment, and a lot of people are talking about it. So it's an area which most of them have tried to cover in some ways. So the Conservatives have pledged £2.3 billion into mental health budget, and they want to implement that by 2023 or 24. They've also investing more in social care. And they've given a 5-year spending plan to rise spending by 3.4% each year. And something that's been picked up more in the press is the 50,000 nurses, which they say they're going to somehow find in the NHS. That's quite typical manifesto talk. We're going to put 50,000 new nurses in the NHS, but actually how logistically that would work is quite difficult. 50,000 new nurses doesn't necessarily mean 50,000 more nurses. So it could mean that a lot of nurses are retiring or they're leaving to go abroad and then we're training up new nurses to go in. But it doesn't mean that actually there's going to be a net gain of nurses. So that's sort of an area to look at. On the surface, it looks like great, 50,000 more nurses, but actually it doesn't really translate to that. So Labour have, again, spoken about mental health, and they're going to pledge sort of double the amount of the Conservatives into mental health, which is sort of a typical Labour policy of spending more. They also want to make personal hygiene, social care free for the elderly. So that would be things like getting dressed, cleaning, sort of helping with cooking and stuff. But they haven't made it clear how they would fund that, and it would be a lot of money. So whether that would actually be feasible is not that sure. The Lib Dems have spoken about a 1% income tax increase. So they said this 1% will all go to the NHS and social care, and 30% of that 1% would be on mental health specifically. Green have said that they'll spend more than any other party, so double what Tories have pledged to spend, and 4.5 billion of that will be for free social care for over 65s, which would be amazing for the older population, but again, whether that would be enough money for free social care for all over 65s or whether that's actually feasible is a different question. Brexit Party haven't spoken that much about the NHS and sort of social care. It's not really their area, but what they have made very clear is that they wouldn't privatise it. I think a lot of people from some things that Nigel Farage has said in the past thought that maybe they would look towards privatisation, but they've made very clear that that would not be their plan. What they have said is that they would give tax breaks to the richest people in our society to try and get them to have their operations on private to sort of release some of the stress on the NHS. Again, financially, not sure how that would work. And it hasn't been made very clear in their manifesto how exactly that would work. But what they are clear about is they will not privatise the NHS.
Now, a question for both of you. What impact is the student vote likely to have?
So fantastically, in the last month, 2 million young people have registered to vote, which is something that's completely unprecedented at this point in a general election campaign. So that's absolutely amazing to see. And like they did in the last election, young people really could shock the system a little bit and swing this election. Traditionally, young people do vote Labour, but they can vote for a wide range of parties at this election, and we've just gone over all the policies, and they're all quite interesting. So they really could have a real effect on this election that we can't see. And pollsters really do kind of struggle with young people and they don't quite factor them in, and young people don't usually respond to pollsters' questions. They don't pick up the phone, they don't register for these things, so it could be quite an interesting thing to see what happens with a young person's vote. Now, quite an interesting thing that happened last week was Stormzy posting on his Instagram feed, which is, again, this is a completely new type of politics we've moved into, and he encouraged people to register to vote and to vote Labour. Now, on that day, we saw a spike of 366,000 registrations, which is absolutely insane. So that's absolutely fantastic to see those registrations. But a point that has been made is, will these people be blindly voting Labour? Blinded by Jeremy Corbyn's grace, in some ways, you might want to say. And is that the right thing to do? Should they not be encouraged to make their own decision? That is a point that has been discussed by a lot of people. But whichever way people vote, it's so important that young people do go out and vote on December the 12th, so we actually get listened to as a community. Because at the moment, middle-aged people and the older people are prioritised in policies on pensions and that kind of thing, and house prices and tax, because they vote more, and that makes more sense for parties to do that. So we really need to up our game so we are listened to and our voice is heard.
Thank you to Lily and Jeeves. Hopefully a lot of our student viewers are better informed on all of these issues. And remember, for all of you out there, to vote.
Thank you to our student representatives for an exciting discussion on UK politics. Concerns about climate change remain prominent in the run-up to the election. Amber and Lily have been in London speaking to activists from the Extinction Rebellion group.
We're here in London at Trafalgar Square, where the Extinction Rebellion activist group are staging a live protest.
As you can see behind us, crowds are gathering, and they've even camped out last night through the rain and decorated Nelson's Column in fire to draw attention to the climate crisis.
We are Extinction Rebellion, and we are fed up with climate criminals. So we bring this to you today simply to show you how we feel.
And I'm here with Hannah and Harvey, who have come here with Extinction Rebellion to try and prove a point and get some action for the climate protest. What made you come here today?
I'm here because this is not okay and I can't just sit by and let my future be destroyed.
Yeah, and are you planning on going? I think there's a march later on today. Are you going to join in on the march, or are you standing here and protesting, standing your ground in Trafalgar Square?
Yeah, I think we're going to go all around and definitely go to the march. Can't wait.
Yeah. It's good to see that you're excited. Are you also excited for the march later today?
Yeah, I'm really ready for it.
I'm here with Esther from the Extinction Rebellion group. So Esther, can you tell me a bit about what protests are going to be happening today?
So today the main thing that's going to be happening is there's going to be a procession from Marble Arch to Russell Square at 1:30.
And what action are you hoping to achieve through doing these protests and marches?
It's just kind of a disruptive protest, kind of marching down the streets to communicate to the public and kind of sharing our grief of the state of the planet and kind of how it's currently progressing.
And we've seen lots of tents and people camping out here. How long have you been here for?
I only arrived on Thursday afternoon and I'm here just for today and then I'm leaving this evening.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you.
It's been a busy few weeks full of big national news stories, but two students here in Exeter have also been keeping busy with the launch of their exciting new coffee business. Kerenza has headed down to find out more.
Hello, I am here on Hoopern Lane. It's 8:30 in the morning. Many of you may recognise this as the uphill slog to campus. Well, the reason we're here is because of that brand new coffee shop that opened just at the beginning of this term. It's named 8:30's Coffee Company. Maybe it'll help you get up the hill when you have your early morning lectures, but we're here to find out more. Follow me. So I've made it up the hill and here they are, the 8:30 Coffee Company. I'm joined today by the lovely Andy and George, and we're going to find out a little bit more about how they got here and what's going on at the moment. So Andy, tell me a little bit about the idea behind your coffee shop.
Yeah, so George and I worked together at a cafe over summer, and we wanted to do something different that wasn't just working for someone else. So while we're studying, before we started studying, we set this up. So we built our stand, and then there's photos of us, and it's literally the stand and like an umbrella, and it rained every single day for the first month that we were open, and no one comes and says hi when it's raining because you put headphones in and churn up the hill.
Yeah, they keep walking, right? Yeah.
So no one will say hi. So then we got this rubbish gazebo. Turns out it's not waterproof, so the water still came through. And then I think about 3 weeks ago we got the good one, and we kind of just keep buying new things and like built from there.
That sounds great. And how did you end up here at the Squash Club?
So we were going to be at the top of Hoopern Lane, down there, and we went through the whole council application, and they said no. Oh. Basically, the Highways Authority said we were blocking the pavement, which I guess we probably would have been. Now we're here, so we're on his premises, which is really nice, and we didn't have to pay the council £1,000, so even better.
Even better.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I've now got my coffee, feeling much better. But the questions continue. And you said you brew it early, so what time do you start?
So I guess we get here at 7 every day, Monday to Friday. So it's getting up at like 6. I've got to force myself to not just be here all the time and actually do some work, because it's just fun, like meeting people and just running it. It's really good.
What's the one thing you would say to your customers if, the ones that are going to be watching?
Potential customers.
Yes, potential customers. Hello there.
What do we want to say to them? Stop talking about us and come over. Yeah, it's just like come say hi. We're really quick. So even if you're running late, I mean, if you're already late, you might as well be more late, right, and have a coffee. But even if you're running slightly late, like we can kind of get you through in like 30 seconds or so. We're really fast. And just come say hi. Like we're students. We're not part of the squash club. We're not part of town. Like come say hello. That'd be really nice.
So I'm here with George, and George studied marketing. So do you want to talk a bit about the social media hype that's kind of been going on with the coffee company?
Yeah, so I was really lucky in the sense that I did 3 years of marketing, then I did a master's in digital marketing, and I just knew that if we were going to do a business, like we just had to be on it. And so every day we try and post something, we try and keep it funny.
And then what about your kind of eco-sustainability vibe? I mean, we are sitting on surfboards at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So me and Andy are both surfers. He does a lot of windsurfing. We had these anyway, and we were just like, so everything we've done here is pretty much built by ourselves. So like the stand, the table, everything like that is built by us, even the trays. So we're just like, let's keep it that way. And we just spent the summer building everything, and we really wanted a seating area. We wanted it almost to feel like a little outdoor cafe. And it's so fun when people are actually sitting here and drinking coffees and stuff.
And they do also charge an extra 50p if you forget your cup, like I did this morning. So make sure you get one of their limited edition. They're running out. They have their own. Or bring your reusable cup with you. But also, beyond just the sustainability, you've also been working with the homeless charities here in Exeter. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so about 2 years ago, I used to, like the homeless community in Exeter, it's like insane. I think everyone noticed it. When you walk back from nights out, I feel like it's just crazy. And I think, I used to, a guy called Josh Coombs, he used to cut hair for the homeless. I used to do a little bit of work with him. And I ever said if I ever had something myself or I had the ability to speak to lots of people, I would do something about it. And I mean, we just got a bucket which we take clothes donations for the homeless, and we got, so from the 50p charge for our keep cups, 10% of that goes towards St. Petroc's homeless charity.
Okay, so basically the reminder to bring anything you don't want, and we all have so much in our wardrobes, well, at least I do anyway, that could probably be better used. So yeah, for sure. And my final question today for you is, if you had a slogan, what might it be? What would be your catchphrase? You did marketing.
Yeah, maybe it's just Pret don't love you like we do.
Pret don't love
because
you
we are pretty so that £1, we love it so much. You know what I mean? Like that, it feels so nice every time. The best part is having regulars. You know what I mean? People keep coming back, and that means we're doing something right.
Yeah, okay, so there's their slogan. They are doing something right. I know that when I have my 8:30s next time, Lord help me, I'll definitely be heading over. So maybe you should too. So it's clear that the 8:30 Coffee Company isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I've certainly already got my loyalty card. Just remember, guys, this is by students, for students, and I think it's a pretty good initiative worth supporting. So back to you guys in the studio.
That's all from us today. Stay tuned for next month's episode of The Newsroom.